Order.
There we go. Sorry, took a second. There we go. Now we're recording.
I'll call this special meeting of the Teton Valley Parks and Recreation District to order. We've got Matt here, myself here, and Sarah Warhol via Zoom. Are we good with the agenda? Anyone make a motion to accept or change?
I'll make a motion to accept today's agenda.
I can second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 There's, okay. Thanks. Public comment. Do we have anybody online? Besides Sarah?
Nope, we do not. It's just
Okay.
Sarah and myself are present.
We have no publics here in the building, so move on to item 3, the JPA update from Driggs. So attached is the most current version. Doug Self suggested a couple changes, which I have redlined in a version I have on my desktop here. I'll just read those. So under the section titled, or where's the last, right before agreement, where it says now therefore.
Mhm.
Yeah. Added the, let's see, after the parties desire to enter into agreement following, or excuse me, allowing for the joint exercise of powers by, and he added in providing, acquiring, maintaining, and operating facilities. So that was one suggested change. I don't see any issues there in my mind. Under A2, there was a typo there after boards. There should be a quotation mark and a closed parentheses there. Consistent of one member from Driggs, should be a from there, and confirmed by the city council. So suggested those changes. And then he also suggested removing in section 5B, appoint an administrator if necessary to handle day-to-day operations of facilities. This seems to cause some consternation to people. I think his reasoning was that it's going to go back to either the city council or our board to make that determination anyway, probably. So,
Okay.
So he suggested removing that.
Was that D or something in there? What section?
It was
Section
B.
B.
Where would be
5.
where are we here?
See, A. Section A5B. So if you
Where am I going?
You're going out to section A, sorry. Section 2.
Section 2. Okay, there we go. Joint board.
B.
5. Powers and duties.
So you struck B.
Yeah, yeah, he was suggesting B.
Got this PDF up. Sorry, guys.
Yep. And the only other change was in addition to the facility list on the last page, we added in the Driggs Recreation Center.
Oops, sorry.
His number.
Further down the exhibit.
Yeah, the very exhibit. Yeah. So down there we added in
Okay.
Driggs Recreation Center. So those were his suggested changes. And unless anybody sees any issues with any of those.
So they don't want anyone to administer the day-to-day operations. So like handling reservations for the fields.
Like, yeah, his thinking is that this board wouldn't make that decision, that it would have to be done by the city council or our board to make that determination of who that person is.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that probably makes sense, as that would be, I mean, in our case, it would be, Katie would be probably the one that would be doing that if needed. And in their case, don't know who that would be, but I think, yeah, if we want to do, reservations and things like that, I mean, that's going to take an additional, agreement or a discussion from the
Well,
city
I think it's
council
more the point
too.
of like to have an administrator for every JPA. At the moment, that'd be 4 separate administrators potentially, right?
Could be,
So
yeah.
you start to wonder like how many.
Well, yeah, and it's more, I don't know that it's the administrator of the JPA. It's if we, let's say we ran the rock gym. And let's say that's something we were gonna do. And we needed to put somebody in responsibility for day to day. So that would be, if it was a purely joint effort between us and the city, we'd have to decide who, does the city put that person in place that runs the day-to-day activities, or do we put that person in place? And that wouldn't be likely made by this board of 3 people. That would be a decision that we would decide, because if we're gonna be paying for that person, our board wants to make that decision, not this joint board. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And the same in the case of the city council, if they were the ones who were gonna pay for that person, they would want to make that decision, as opposed to the 3-person council or joint board. That makes sense. Seems to me that's where it's
It seems to. I'm
up,
just
yeah.
trying to kind of spin
Yeah.
through any other potential outcomes that we would want to think through with this.
Yeah.
But otherwise, yeah, I have no objection to the concept.
Does that kind of answer your question there, Sarah?
Well, it seems like maybe we want to move that somewhere else then. Like under the responsibilities of the participating entities. And that would be something that the governing bodies would do then, not the board. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I think that's in essence what we're doing by removing that there.
Does it say something to that effect somewhere else? I'm not sure that it does.
Yeah, let me. Look where else? Let's see, maybe do it.
I mean, it gives them pretty broad latitude to say approve procedures through the operation. Just provide recommendations to us and to, municipalities. I think dripping B out still gives them a lot of room to, have broad exercise of their abilities without creating a new position, which I think makes a lot of sense.
So what you're saying is that, right now, once these joint facilities, let's say the joint park facility. And there are some day-to-day activities that happen there in the city park. It's just, and so by including that potentially could, well, what we said, by including it, we said if needed, somebody would be administered there. And in this case, there's already somebody doing it. We're not seeing a need for somebody new to do it. So now let's take and build an ice rink in the city park that now we're going to operate. We're gonna maintain it and operate it, and we need somebody that does the day-to-day activities. The question becomes: is that the responsibility of this joint board to assign that person, or is that a responsibility of us as a board of directors to assign that person? And I think because it's a monetary decision that we're going to employ somebody to do that, that has to still come back to us to make that decision, that joint board doesn't have that authority to make that kind of a decision.
Good with me?
Does that make sense, Sarah?
Yeah, so that's why I was just wondering if we need to maybe just move it somewhere else in the JPA so that it's still in there. The governing bodies will appoint that an administrator.
See if there's anything that.
I guess I don't know that we need to, because I think there's a bunch of authority that we're not delegating to the JPA, and we're not gonna lift every item of authority that we're not giving them, and how it's covered by ourselves or the existing municipalities. I think just by removing it, you're saying it's a restriction, but it's not a I don't know that we just have to, I just don't know that we have to provide more definition to that type of procedure.
Yeah,
I guess it does kind of say it under purpose. Like the fourth sentence. It does mention administering. Bottom of page 3.
thank you. I'm having a hard time finding it. Yeah. Yeah, I think that in my mind, that does. I think we're okay.
Is this a typo on both of ours? The jointly administered and maintained facilities under this agreement are as follows. And then we go into section 4. The bottom last sentence, section 3. Should that reread to say the jointly administered and maintained facilities under this agreement are as indicated in Exhibit A?
Where are we? Let's see.
Section 3,
Here.
purpose at the
Okay.
very bottom, that last sentence.
As it's the jointly administered facility.
I think that's a typo.
It seems like we should address that differently, should we? Jointly administrating utilities under this agreement are as. Purpose. Yeah. We'll change that to our identified. Right. In exhibit A. Period. Yes. Any other thoughts on this specific one?
Can we just go through your list one more time?
Yeah.
Just to, I want to put it, a track change together on my side as well.
Sure. Under the last now and therefore.
Yep.
The fourth line down says exercise of the powers by, the addition is now providing, comma, acquiring, comma, maintaining, comma, and operating facilities.
Providing, acquiring, maintaining, and operating.
Yeah. Then
I like that.
under section 2A2, the joint board, there should be close quotations and close parentheses after board, shall consist of one member and then from Driggs.
Let me see what you got there. Joint board. Got it.
From Driggs. Appointed by the mayor. Now, yours probably says city council because that's preferred, but Driggs decided to just get somebody from the parks and and confirmed by the city council.
Okay.
And we moved B. We changed on section 3, added are identified in exhibit A. And then on this one, we added the number 13 is Driggs Recreation Center. Joint facilities.
Which is a proposed future facility, right?
It is the place where the gymnastics and the rock gym are.
Got it. Yeah. So the recreation center. Okay.
You're missing an S on the signature page in witness.
Surprised that doesn't show up as a spello. It's probably some British version. Good catch.
What date are you putting up at the very?
Oh yeah, that's it. This is a good point. Let's have this discussion right here. In the Tetonia one, they put the what section was that? They had a start date, the duration. Where was that? We had a December 1st. Let's see, let's find December. Yeah, we had under agreement, section 1 duration. Agreement is effective on the date last signature parties signed or until midnight December 31st. They had Tetonia put it,
September 30th.
but yeah, their fiscal year.
Yeah.
Do you want to line up the fiscal year?
Probably. Do we know that all municipalities?
Yeah,
All of them around
Yeah.
here is
yeah,
October.
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
state. Yeah,
Check it too until midnight on December or September 30th.
September. '30th, 26. And we might as well go up to the top. And day. Change that January to March because it will be March. Okay. Be good there. Any other carryovers that you looked at, Sarah, from Tetonia, you think we ought to carry into this one?
So at our
Sounds-
last meeting, we discussed from the county, they had that amendment section in there, and we added it to where did we add it? In Tetonia. Let's see.
That the last
Oh.
6E and F?
Yeah.
So the amendments to this agreement may be amended only by written and approved, blah, blah, blah. That makes sense. You can tell your mayor's a lawyer. Governing law agreement.
Brent Taylor's a lawyer?
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't know
it's there's some interesting history there. In accordance with the law of the state of Ohio, yeah. That all seems fine. So we'll add E and F. Let me copy that over.
He also had a lot of just typos and capitalization things in there.
Yeah, he was really good at that. I appreciate eyes that can catch those little details because, man, I will zoom through, and if my computer doesn't pick it up, on to the next word.
So it's probably worth looking at his and comparing it just to.
Well, even he got the S on it too, and the witness whereof. At the bottom by the signature, he noticed that second S was missing.
Oh, and something I just caught on your section 3 purpose. It still has a park in there instead of a facility.
Section 3.
Because you moved that last sentence, right, where it was
Certain
in the wrong
portions of
spot.
agreement shall be responsible for administering and maintaining certain portions of the that'd be the facilities.
Or that facility. I'm not, let's see.
That's set forth below. Okay, let's see what other.
Can you put,
I mean, he kind of reworded.
it's just above it, witness whereof, that are on the 21.
Yeah. Right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of did some rewording, and I don't know that we need to do that.
Yeah, that's up to you. This some of it was his preference on wording. That
Right.
didn't really
Yeah.
change the idea. Oh, we also added in section 4, manner of financing and budgeting, D, revenue and fee collection policies and agreements shall be agreed upon by the parties and attached hereto. So he felt like that was something that, it needed to be talked about, but still we could do it later for each
Yeah. So what does
facility.
attached tier 2 mean? That was when I read that earlier, wondering.
Attached to the JPA later. I don't. That was something that still hasn't really been flushed out, I guess. And that's what the mayor put in the other night. So, were there any thoughts from the cities?
On the
From Driggs and Victor on that?
Collection policies, who's gonna get what?
no, nothing. Yeah, just give me a second. I was just looking at what attached tier 2 means. Yeah, it means it's attached to the document. The comment from Jeff was that those agreements will really need to be set as specifically defined as part of any activity. So if we're going to collect fees, we need to define it as part of that. So the attached here too, the problem with that is that means it needs to be attached to this document, in my mind, without it being attached. I think if we, at least for the Driggs version, if we leave revenue and fee collection policies in agreement shall be agreed upon by the parties, period. And that basically states that we will reach agreement on that. And the parties are us and the city. And so that's going to be a separate effort. If we add the here to, attached here to, then we have to define what that is as part of the approved document. Does that make sense?
So just scratch that last bit then.
Yeah, I mean, I feel comfortable with that because that sort of covers the the question of how is it addressed? It's going to be addressed on basically a case-by-case basis, parties. And so, yeah, if we, again, that ice rink example, if we're going to collect fees, we're going to have to agree with the city and ourselves on how we do that. And those funds, have to be plowed back into that particular effort per the state statutes, as opposed to going into our general budget. And I think that,
And you think that's in keeping with the feedback Jeff gave in terms of how to handle that?
that was basically what, he said on a case by case basis, you're gonna have to figure that out. And I think this helps address that question by having that, that section 4D added to it. I think that's a good addition as far as, it shows that we've thought about it. The attaching it, again, that it's problematic because we don't have that
100%,
agreement.
yeah.
That just would hold it up, I think.
I think the mayor would be fine. That's kind of where our conversation was. And he said he would do the wording, and this is what he put in there. So I think he'd be fine with taking that off too.
Okay. I'm gonna add that as 4D to our version. Great. Version. Seems like the other edits he made were capitalizing entity, correct?
Yeah, I think there were a lot of those.
Yeah.
Do you mind scrolling through this from the top, and I can just see if we've caught those in big groups, or I should grab them now?
I'm just gonna.
Okay, whereas both the
We were in.
Keep going.
I'll stop there. That's good. Acquiring, owning, and operating. So do you want to make that change there? Top of the page on the screen now. It says operate specified projects at facilities. We had that changed to by acquiring, owning, and operating facilities. That was one of your changes, I believe, right?
Yeah, I'm concerned with the projects addition there. I don't know. That's one I think we need Jeff to look at and make sure that's okay. I don't know. I mean, it's what we're doing is projects at those facilities.
I think that's the change by acquiring, owning, and operating the facilities. We keep it titled facilities, which is Exhibit A. And then so Sarah, did you have a project list that's Exhibit B that's coming with this?
No, I thought he was gonna attach that. I can ask if they had that ready to go.
Yeah, I think, I think, the intent and the way the document's written is that project list is separate, and that's agreed to, once we get the joint powers agreement in place, the joint committee, joint board figures out what those projects are and brings those both to the city council and to the rec board for approval. So they're not
Does it need to be part of the master document?
it's not part of the master document. Yeah.
Okay. I will give him that feedback and say it's not necessary to be defined in here. We'll define that later through the board.
Yeah, yeah.
And then do we say also that this, whereas includes the language by acquiring, owning, and operating facilities, not just operating, so allowing that acquiring and owning piece.
So Matt's suggesting replacing the wording we've put in the Driggs and Victor version to be in here, which where he has changed,
I gotta match yours though. You have providing, read it one more time, John.
providing, comma, acquiring, comma, maintaining, comma, and operating.
That's not owning in there.
Definitely have you double check this, yours against this when we get her. So I guess my question to you, Sarah, is, including both of those, or if we want to be consistent between them, do you think that addresses the question? I mean, providing facilities, acquiring facilities, maintaining and operating facilities, as opposed to operating specific projects at facilities, the facilities.
Yeah, because part of what I worry about this whereas piece, right, is it's all tied to the Idaho code statute, right? So in my
Yeah.
mind, that says the language of this paragraph, it's in keeping with the language of that code. And I think that code is more about facilities than it is projects.
That's what, that's what Jeff pushes back on always, is that it's facility, it's very facility focused, the statute. And we own and operate facilities, then we can do work, can run programs in those facilities. And so this is a joint powers agreement for us to jointly own and operate those facilities.
Okay.
That's. And then by that, then we can do specific projects within them. Does that
Sound good with you, Sarah?
And what I think might be useful to do, Sarah, is if I run this version by Jeff and the Tetonia's write up and get him his response. I mean, some of these he definitely won't have a problem with, but if there's an issue with that particular statement, he's usually got some pretty good discussion points that help clarify it that I think Mayor would
Yeah.
understand.
And I think that's why, yeah, the mayor just wanted things worded a certain way. And so if it can't be, I think he's okay with that too.
Yeah, okay. So I think we, unless there's
Well,
anything.
just because it was slow. Could we keep scrolling and make sure our thinking?
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of good edits here on Sarah's version. I'm good on this page. I guess the quote from the state code we should include in.
That is direct quote from the state code.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Keep going.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Duration September 30th. Great. Shall be in accordance with the city's fiscal year. You think that's an important add, John?
The
1 year terms. It shall be in accordance. I like that. I think it's just a little protection for the city saying, hey, if we decide to change our fiscal planning, the parks are going to pivot to change with them, which is probably a nice thing for us to agree to.
so if this, so what you're saying here is the 1 year term, which shall be in accordance with the city's fiscal year. That's all. I mean, we're all on the same fiscal calendar. It's defined by state statute.
Okay. So should we have Sarah strike it? Should I add it? What do you think?
I don't I think since we defined September 30th, initial term, agreement shall be honored. 1 year term, so 1 year.
Okay.
This is in accordance with fiscal year. I'm neutral to it.
Okay.
How's that for an
Less
answer?
less and more. We're capitalizing agreement. Probably good. Capitalizing agreement. Discriminator is stated below. Wait a minute. I say above. Okay.
Did you see under section 4B? He put in services rather than charges. Because of the fact they're not going to charge themselves. So he took charges out.
Section 4. Where is that, Sarah? I'm missing it.
Section 4B.
Section 4B.
He took out the word charges.
Oh, okay. I'm not seeing the strikeout then. Florida City agrees solely responsible for implementation.
It said he has services, and it used to say service charges.
Oh,
I mean, I like that. They're responsible for the service. That's more clear.
That's fine, yeah.
Shall be agreed upon by the parties, and we're gonna scratch as attached here too. Okay, I agree with all that. I think that's good. Can we go back up to, I guess it would be section 2. Yeah, the joint board one. There we go. One member. So what are we saying here about the third party member? This says resident of the city or area of impact. Victor's currently says resident of the district and may or may not be resident of the city. Shall not be an employee of either entity. We got that. I forget where we landed in terms of thinking what we needed there. I think you made a comment last time, John, that it's city facilities. We're going to have people in the county. It should be a city member. Sarah here is giving the area of impact as well.
That was just because of the size of Tetonia. He was hoping to just expand his pool a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And we
I
thought
like that.
since
I think
area of
that's-
impact is defined in the county, that's where the definition would come from. That blank spot there is coming from the county definition of their area of impact that I think just got tweaked a little recently. So
Yeah, I'm actually good with that, having lived in the area of impact and Driggs and having no voice and things. Sometimes that can be frustrating.
And what about this as defined in? What is that? What do you
that's
think?
the blank. We need to find the county code still where it's defined. Each city has a defined area of impact in the county standards.
We just say it's the as defined in the currently adopted zoning map. I mean, I think that's where it's handled.
Yeah, I think we were just looking for proper wording there. So whatever, if you guys have an idea of what to put there.
I would say that as defined in the currently adopted Teton County zoning map. Okay.
Just a second. City. City. Area. Act. Is it the zoning map that defines that? Let's make sure we got it right.
Yes, it's a zoning map.
What's that?
It's a zoning map.
It's the zoning map?
Mhm.
Is that where it shows it?
Yes.
So we added, here's that as defined.
I said, let me find it here. Those two appointees shall meet and select a third member of the board who shall be a resident of the city or the area of impact as defined in the currently adopted Teton County zoning map. I'll say Teton County, Idaho, just to be clear. Okay, I think I'm up to section 6 in terms of needing to get my. Well, sorry, slow down, Kate. Let me just go.
Sorry.
through all of it. More right there than I was expecting. Let's see. The
Okay, so-
joint board shall attend.
So he's, yes, the hard, some of these, he crossed things out and you can't. So as it read previously, it was the city's designee. Let's see, where'd it go? Decreased add the facilities of not the directors meeting per quarter. Agenda item, at least monthly. It's monthly city council.
It's gonna be sort of, yeah.
Council. Selected third member. Designee, so we matter from the district. Designee shall attend the city council meeting for the same purpose. So I don't know that we need, I don't know that we want to have the joint board always attending. I think you've got representatives.
Well, I think the way it was written is it says the city's person shows up to the district's meeting and a district's person shows up at the city's meeting, you
Yeah.
know? And I think that's a little, I don't know, clear, quite honestly.
Yeah,
If I'm the member of the, wait a minute, it's gonna be, yeah, someone that we appoint. One more that's about district board. So it's myself, someone from the council, and that third person.
Mhm.
And then down here, we're saying the city's designee shall attend this meeting. The district designee shall attend, that's me, shall attend a city meeting. It kind of lets that third person off the hook a little bit from having to do all these quarterly meetings.
Mhm.
Whereas Sarah's language says everybody's got to be there. I personally like the flexibility of the way it was written in terms of just saying a representative's there.
Yeah, yeah. And we need the whole board to be there.
So Sarah, maybe on yours, I would suggest you go back to Brent and suggest that 5B under section 2 potentially go away. That's the appointed administrator piece. And then in section 2A4, perhaps revert back to the template language. Just a thought. You guys,
Okay.
I think you're kind of welcome to do whatever there, but I think the template language gives us more flexibility from, oh, we don't have a quorum, then we got to make time on the next agenda to get the person for the full board to be there. We just have one designated attendee. I think it gives us, I think that covers us and doesn't put more sort of responsibility and scheduling and pressures that way on us.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and let's, before you go back to Brent, let's run this by Jeff too, just in case there's some other. But keep a note of that.
So, I mean, I guess technically then, as a member of the joint board, people are already attending their own meetings. So isn't the idea to get someone else to come as well?
No, the template language says when it's a parks meeting, someone from city council needs to be there. When it's a city council meeting, someone from parks needs to be there. That's all. It just, rather than saying when it's a parks meeting, someone from city council and the third party person needs to be there all together. Or there's a parks meeting and then the city council member's there and the third party person's there, but I'm sick that day. And suddenly now that joint board isn't meeting the requirements of who's attending that quarterly meeting. We got to put it on an agenda the next month. So I think it just says that basically lets that third person off the hook from a lot of duties. And it just says that I will go to a city council meeting and city council will come to one of our meetings per quarter. I mean, and then I don't really know enough about government to speak, to make a recommendation or a decision here, but like, is quarterly even the right cadence of that? Do we want to question that at all? Do we want to lock ourselves into,
That was Jeff's, I mean, that's his suggestion. So
Okay.
quarterly is not unreasonable because that'd be giving updates of projects and such and
Okay.
status of things. I think that's.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, if it becomes unduly burdensome, I think then we can rethink that, but I think quarterly is not too unreasonable. Don't think.
Can we keep scrolling, Katie? I'm way down to section 6 now. I think I've got everything else. Let me adjust that. Revenue, yeah. If agreeable with both parties.
Yeah, it's kind of hard where he did a lot of striking out of things, but didn't leave the strikeout on there. he's suggesting
I mean, what it did say there in B, 6B was on city property, content, loss of content, of personal property held on the city property. And I think with some exhibit A, it's good because then it's not making us, you know,
now I'm looking at mediation, section A.
oh, your mediation. Well, here's one that I would push back on our lawyer friend. It's totally your call, Sarah, but to say that mediation may happen in my sort of line of work, I like my contracts to say that mediation must happen. Usually it's good faith meeting, mediation, and then there's usually some debate between arbitration or litigation. You know, we often will say we're not going to do both. So one client right now doesn't like arbitration because he thinks it costs just almost as much. And so just go mediation, straight litigation. But I think when we say maybe submitted to mediation, I think we open ourselves up to going immediately to litigation without having to say shall be submitted to mediation. So
I like the original language that Jeff put in
Jeff
there.
might have something to say about that one.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, and that was the mayor's point too, that he wanted the lawyers to look at that a little closer. They seemed anti-mediation for some reason. They thought it was costly. And his dealings with the school district, I think, was his experience that he was pulling from.
Okay. Well, I'm happy to let the lawyers beat that one out. I don't really have a strong opinion there. Other than I think that one turn of phrase does have significant impact.
The mayor shall.
Yeah. And then I grabbed added D and E here, or E and F, I guess.
Yeah.
Which I thought was good. Okay. Oh, you have to get Sarah's name on that one.
Yeah, should say Sarah.
Yeah, look at that.
We want you to be responsible, Sarah.
It's got Matt's instead of your name down by the signatures.
Oh yeah, I think because they originally had just copied
Yeah.
the Victor one and then
We shall
made
clean
their
that up.
edits. So, and then also the title for Exhibit A, I think was a working title. Did we settle on one?
Yeah, what we've been using is Exhibit A, Joint Facilities, Teton Valley Parks and Recreation / City of Driggs, City of Teton, yeah.
So I'm going to say the joint facilities of Teton Valley Parks and Recreation and the City of Victor.
Yep.
Okay.
I probably should say district. Parks and Recreation District.
The joint facilities of Teton Valley Parks and Recreation District and the City of Victor.
Mhm.
Or whatever city.
And then
Okay.
the mayor just wanted to define ownership on this page as well. So that's why he added the owned by the city part.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's interesting to me because I noticed in the Driggs one, it talks about, you know, City Park is a lease, there's a lease in place, I presume,
Mhm.
with the LDS Church.
Yeah.
I don't know why that matters, but I think it's fine to include.
Yeah. Okay, so for the, to be able to move on here, at least with the Driggs draft, they're wanting to send this to their city council next week. And so with these edits, and I can go through the edits if we'd like, or if we remember them. Making a motion to approve it. Do we need to walk through those edits again, or do we think we?
Well, I feel like all of the edits we've made, I feel confident that they are, agreeable to all of us as a group. We have good consensus on those, and in my opinion, would all be agreeable to the discussions I've had with the city of Victor. The only question I would have, the only thing that sort of I think presumes something above my pay grade would be this mediation piece.
Yeah.
So
in my mind, as far as from the Driggs standpoint, since Driggs has their
Accepted that
people have
language.
accepted that language,
yeah,
the city council may look at a different lawyer wrote that language.
Yep.
I feel comfortable with that approach.
yeah. I mean, so I think to answer that question, I almost feel like we could vote on Driggs and Victor today, but maybe not Teton. And so Sarah has a chance to go back and ask Brent
Yeah.
about that mediation piece.
Yeah, Teton, I don't think we're ready to.
Okay.
So, Sarah, do you want to walk through the edits, or you pretty much remember what those are? Or let me say this. Let me let me do this. Let me make a motion, and then if we're good with that motion, or we need discussion associated with that motion. So I'll make the motion to approve the joint powers agreement between the city of Driggs and the Teton Valley Parks and Recreation District as edited this afternoon. Is there a second of that motion?
I will second that motion.
Is there any discussion? Would we like to discuss those specific edits or anything? Any discussion, Sarah?
Nope.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion for the approval of the joint powers agreement between the Teton Valley Parks and Recreation District and the city of Victor as amended through today's discussions.
Is there a second on that motion?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes. Okay, what we'll do is I'll get copies of that, get your copy, and we'll I'll forward this copy with the edits to Doug so he can see what changes we made. Go to the city council.
For Driggs?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
Are you going to send him, just so I can do the same thing, are you going to send him this with all of these changes accepted, or are you going to send him?
I'm going to send it with the red line so he can see what's changed. Yeah, that's one of those. I mean, that's kind of when you can't see the strikeout. It's like you got to read the whole document again. That's painful. So I like to see red line strikeouts just for the future reference. That's one of my kind of pet peeves on things and documents.
Okay.
Keep the red line strikeout so you don't have to go reread the whole document and stuff. So it's one of my like I say, my pet peeves that sometimes it drives me crazy. So cool. Okay, where are we? Agenda. Okay, I think we've addressed number 4 and number 5 all this evening. Sarah, I'll forward the JPA, the Teton off to Jeff. You can get him to turn around that pretty quick to look at those comments and give us some suggestions. Item number 6, the update to our contract with Harmony. Katie and I met with them a week and a half ago, sat down and kind of walked through our priorities of trying to, we talked about adding in the 2 additional, the website work. We talked to them about adding in the storyboarding piece, and that we would use our advisory board committee as that committee, so they didn't have to set that one up separately. The other discussion, there was lots of discussion, but one of the piece was trying to gather as much public input as we could to try to influence our budget for next year. You know, and unfortunately, this document won't be done in time to do that completely, but we will have try to get as much information as we can to help inform us as we develop our budget. And so we kind of set a middle of July timeframe to try to get something there, whatever that can be. That's what we're, you know, because as Sarah knows well, it was hard. We'd sure like to have some better data to put our budget together for next year than we did last year, but better guidance from the public. So, has anyone had a chance to look through that document? Any concerns?
Only concern is it's T&M with an estimated cap, correct? So just putting in place how we're controlling that, you know? So I get it from their point of view. I don't like to put out contracts that are, you know, we're going to work hourly and also put a cap on it. You know, you kind of get to pick, do you want the fixed fee or do you want the hourly service? And there's pros and cons going with it each way. I just think that there is there's something for us to watch for when anytime we're approving in sort of an open-ended contract. What are we doing to put guards on that?
Yeah, I think we should, from an approval of the document, we'll approve it at a cap, not to exceed, without action from the board. It was my suggestion to them that we do it time and materials, because fixed fee just doesn't make sense for this sort of thing, I think. So that's where that came from. I think we've got per task estimates, and I think from a project management, we'll require them to provide, make that clear when provide this back to them, but to provide their invoices with percentage of, and I think that's actually what they sort of said in their percentage of completion of each task, so we can look at those costs and weigh them against the actual task done and manage it based on that.
So you're saying there is something in there that is going to associate their billing to individual tasks?
Yeah, if you look at it's not included on the agenda because the agenda is public, and I was a little concerned. I need to clarify what we have to make public. They had their exact fee schedule in there, which was marked confidential, so I didn't want to include that. Let's see,
what's the date on this document, Katie? Can you go to the town? I just want to make sure I'm looking at the right one. 2/18/26.
Yeah.
Can you just show me quickly where that is in the drive file?
It's in that. Is it in the drive file?
You sent an email.
Yeah, I sent it. I forwarded it via email.
The one that was provided to us prior to John and I meeting is in the shared drive. This one was sent via email a couple of days ago.
Yeah, last week. Yeah.
February 18th.
Yeah, got it. So the third
Was that one?
that's the detail.
To the shared drive.
24th. Oh, the 24th. Never mind. The one from Allison was the 18th. So that asterisk down below, on the second page, scope and fee changes. Is that what you're talking about then, John? As far as making sure we're staying within things?
So we have each of the, if you look at the plan update, there's costs associated with those fees, the principal and the project manager. So,
This is Exhibit C you're looking at.
yeah. Is that what that is? Yep, exhibit C. Yep. So I would, each of those tasks, they've defined, well, there's tasks 1
Yep.
through 4. Each of those, they've defined a sub costs associated with each of those based on labor rates. Is that we manage each of those based on, so they provide us an invoice with the percentage of 1.1, 1.2, 1.3 in the costs. And so we could look at those and say, yeah, you're at 50% and you're 50% done.
Yeah, so is there anything in the contract that is specifically tying them to this Exhibit C as a scope of work and a schedule of values?
No, I don't believe so. Let's look at let's see. Okay, so here, exhibit. Let's read that close. Exhibit, it's the second document, the detailed one. That's the 6 days assumption. That's service being provided on a lump sum basis and as described in the fee section of the proposal, we bill monthly based on consultant's estimated percentage of total service completed during the billing period.
And can you just restate for me, John, what you were saying about trying to accomplish something by July?
What we'd like to do is to get as much information as we can. And so they're going to start, the kind of their public involvement effort. And part of that, big chunk of that will be working with our committee to help gather the priorities and such. And so what we hope to have by then is kind of as much of that sets of priorities and needs defined as we can to help use that to inform our decisions for budget allocation. So maybe we have a better, when we looked at that spreadsheet we put together last year, we had, here's our solid, here's our L2 form, basically.
Yeah.
And that'll be the same. That's what we're legally bound to. But the data supporting that behind it, it would be nice to have more, what I would call better defined projects that we can say, these are the ones we plan to fund next year.
Okay.
This is the work we plan to do. As opposed to now we kind of got this idea of things we want to do.
Yeah.
And we're still, we're struggling to.
Do you think we need to provide that response in the approval that we're looking for that at that point in time?
I think we can, yeah. Just say, hey, per our discussion, let's get this, we'd like to get as much information as possible early on. I mean, that's just to reemphasize that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're having their sort of needs analysis not happening until October of this year. I wonder if there's just a way to pull that forward. Could just be our discussion with them too.
Yeah.
It looks like it's page 18 of 25 is where what I'm looking at is the schedule.
Right spot.
Yeah. And I think I know, but I'm just going to ask what SAT, convene SAT, is that
Advisory
team?
Yeah. I don't know if that's search and see. But that. Study advisory team.
Well, I think it's all looking really good. I think it's the right team. It's within budget, I presume.
Well, yes and no.
Okay.
We had budgeted, what was it, around 50,000 total initially? Sarah, do you remember? We can go back and look.
And yeah, that would have been including the outreach portion too.
Yeah, that was a year ago.
Yeah, our guess was quite low.
Yeah.
And then we
so-
think that this is going to carry us for how long? Have we talked about that at all? We would
Right.
do this again in 2036 or 2031 or,
Yeah, I think it's, I can't remember. I think the other document requested or suggested a 5-year, update. I don't think. I think if we continue to update on a regular basis, that we shouldn't, and it shouldn't be near as expensive. I would hope.
Fair point, right?
Yeah,
If
yeah.
you just do an updated
Yeah.
every 3 years and it's 10 grand versus, $100,000 effort
Right.
every 10
Right.
years, something like that. I don't know, but,
And I'd like to think, and then maybe that's something, we definitely need to think about as a board together too, is how, after this is done, I mean, maintenance, any document that maintenance is often an issue, is how do we continue to maintain or continue to gather public priorities and desires as we move forward, and because those could change. I mean, they will change. And how do we do that as we move forward? So we're getting, new input, new things, as opposed to, and I'll use the example of, when we had the open the meeting for all the kind of general public to come in last year and give us their priorities. There was a real big push from the Victor Rock Park people. And so if you went to that meeting, you would think that's the community's priority, because they did a great job of coming and they did a wonderful, they had little kids and it was a good job.
yeah.
But I mean, that was, they were really pushing for funding for that.
Uh-huh.
But we as a board need to be able to somehow make sure that we collect a broader sense of that desire than, because only, not everybody shows up to those meetings equally, from a time standpoint. So I think we need to, that's something I think Katie can really help, maybe thinking how do we do that, and into the future, how do we try to maintain and gather that information so we're not getting pulled one way or another, but really taking the whole community's.
Well, that's why I like hiring Harmony. They know the valley so well.
Mhm.
Maybe this meeting on the 10th, is that our next public hearing?
Mm,
It looks like,
that actually is our next meeting.
Okay.
like for us, like for the board, or are we talking?
Yeah, I don't know who wants to think of that. We have a board meeting that day. We can bring, I think it'd be no problem having it there.
Our board meeting for April would be the 14th.
No, this would be the mid-March.
Our March meeting, yeah, sorry, other way. Our March meeting is the 10th.
Yeah. Okay.
That could be that meeting. That would be a good time to have a discussion on that. That's a good point.
So we'll add that to the agenda for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other thoughts, Sarah?
So on this exhibit C, the asterisk things that kind of define our role as well as, trying to save some money in the plan. So assuming TVPR shares labor to update the inventory, So they're working with the county GIS. And then also, the noticing of things. Just making sure that there's a good line of communication for Katie.
Yeah.
That
If
she
any
feels
of our-
comfortable with those duties and, yeah.
Well, I
that-
think, yeah, we need to take responsibility for any noticing of meetings of our committee, so I think that's definitely our responsibility, because that's who will come back. We'll get beat up if we don't, so
And we're saying that this SAT is going to be our advisory committee.
that's,
Yes.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
yep. Yep. Yeah, and GIS
Bob.
data, there's not a lot of good, from talking with Rob Marin, there's not a lot of good new data that's been kept up there, so that's a different issue, but
What's the thinking there? Sorry.
well, it's just a matter of whether if the county had been, they'd maintained all the initial facility data that was put in the initial report. If that had been updated on a regular basis, that would make life easier.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
but he said, when I talked with him, he said, that's really hasn't had any focus on it
Uh-huh.
there.
Okay.
But he will help us as he can. Any other thoughts? Sarah, any other thoughts? Questions, concerns?
Nope. Just looking forward to getting this rolling.
Okay. You have a motion to approve?
I'm gonna determine, I can make a motion. I'm happy to do that.
Sure.
I'll make a motion to approve Harmony Design and Engineering's response and proposal to the Teton County Parks and Rec District Master Plan Update RFP for the estimated amount of $99,935 to be billed on a time and materials basis.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Hi.
Aye. Motion passes. Kitty, did you have that? Oh, okay. Okay. Then move in. Let's see, where are we?
Directors.
Director's updates. Manager Director, Sarah, why don't you go first?
With the county JPA, I think it's in the lawyer's hands at this point. I'm not really sure. Like Jeff had made that comment that he wanted to deal directly with the county attorney.
Yeah,
I haven't gotten an update since I gave him the information. I'm not sure if Katie's heard anything either.
No, all I know from Susan is that whenever the county attorney gets that paperwork, he goes in order. So if he had 5 or 6 things ahead of ours, he will get to it after those 5 or 6 things are done.
Okay. Yeah. So I did give Dan the feedback about, having a list of facilities. And then I just felt like it was a really incomplete list. And so I ended up sending him the document that Kim came up with last year, kind of their wish list. And so he had kind of an idea of what facilities, there weren't any trails listed. things like that. So
Yeah.
I challenged him to put together a real list. So we'll see what happens there. Katie and I attended the Little League board meeting last week, or was it earlier this week? I don't know. Time's flying by. And they had an issue with Driggs City Parks. As soon as their reservations opened for the year, the soccer organization went in and scooped up all of the fields, including the baseball fields.
There's a baseball field that they changed into a multi-use field.
Yeah, they made a box that you could check as multi-use. So he was able to reserve the Lions Park and the city field.
The soccer team
For
was.
soccer.
The softball team then lost their field because a multi-use wants to use their outfield for soccer.
All of Little League, not just softball. And typically, Little League doesn't reserve the city park. They leave that open for other groups. They just reserve Lions. And so he thought Kurt, the president for Little League, was pretty fired up about it.
I bet he was.
It's just May and June, just 2 months out of the year that these fields have been reserved for years. So I'm not really sure, the politics going on there. And I told Kurt, John's our designated Driggs guy, so I don't really want to jump in there and stir the pot, but I don't know. I guess there's
Okay.
someone new possibly working in that position, and maybe they just weren't aware of historic uses, and that perhaps people just can't jump in and scoop things up. Which is why, the daily operations administrator, defining that and whose role that is, and making sure things go smoothly for everyone, especially established groups.
Okay, then we all hop right on it. That seems problematic.
It's going to continue. I mean, just from my experience doing field reservations with Sandpoint, it will continue to be problematic until there is an actual scheduled time where the way that we fixed it was the groups that used our fields the most. So it was the schools and it was the leagues. They would come together in one meeting and they would basically plead their case to our field guys, and not just have it wide open. Hey, come and sign up. Whoever first come, first serve. There definitely was ways of splitting these fields up so it was equal use for everybody. I feel that from my understanding of sitting in on that meeting, that was not the case, that it was just everybody knew that was the day it was opened, and there was no notification that checkbox had now been expanded to multi-use. So I think that was the really big problematic side, was that field was now being grabbed by soccer. When
And
predominantly built specifically for ball field.
Right.
And they do, historically, they have used that Lions Park in the fall for soccer, but there's no conflict there because the Little League season is just May and June. I mean, they would start in April if they could. Like this year, they might be able to, like, just for more time. But as Kurt said, it's probably the shortest Little League season in the whole country. So
It's really short.
Well,
realistically, they don't use it all day, do they?
It's just evenings. It's really, they reserve it
Right.
Monday through Thursday in the evenings. And then it's open for everyone else on the weekends. They don't schedule practices.
I feel like these reservation processes could be made a little bit more streamlined by having the ability to break it down for time as well as use, instead of soccer just snagging it up and then eventually and going, nope, this isn't available anymore. If soccer's only using it for 2 hours and there's 8 more hours in the day for softball to be able to use it, or baseball, or whatever it is for ball fields, we can look at it from that perspective too. Because right now, all they know is that soccer's got the field, yeah?
Yes. And
They don't know what time soccer has the field. They just know that now that field's not available.
Yeah. And in May, the kids are still in school, so nothing's really happening during the day. But the kids are out pretty early in June. So yeah, there's more time for those fields. But typically Little League is just that after school hours. reserved.
What's the interface where this sign up is happening currently?
Basically, you print up a piece of paper.
Well,
Wait.
yeah, he printed it, but it's online. It's on their website.
It's on Drake's website?
Yep.
Well, let me do this. I'll get with Doug and find out who is that person, and I'll talk with the mayor too. And maybe there might be a role for Katie to become the mediator of fixing the process. I mean, it seems like you've got some experience with that, and maybe you need to take a step back. I mean, there's going to be some ticked off people, but we need to if we can, interject ourselves. I think that's a role we could do to help with at this point.
I feel if they were able to properly perform all of this last year without a big problem, we can fix this
Yeah.
and get it kind of back to that.
Yeah.
Well, and I think there's been some indoor stuff going on conflict wise too with soccer, right?
I think there's been a lot of
programs
indoor
have had to-
conflict. I think there's been a lot of indoor conflict, period, Sarah, because there's just limited indoor space. And because this area has got the inclement weather that it can get during these seasons, everybody's going to be fighting for indoor space. Sandpoint had the exact same problem. And I think one of the ways that we can be able to kind of provide services is looking at what indoor space people have been using and how we can help the same way we can do with Driggs.
Yeah, and that historic use, that was something Tetonia brought up right away as far as wanting to keep administrating their own reservations is because they know all the historic uses, the people that want to have their family reunions at the rodeo grounds and use the park for certain events. So, I mean, there is a valid reason for the cities to continue doing their own, but then also, yeah, I mean, making sure it's done fairly across the board would be a good goal.
Yeah, and I think, that's something we could figure out and think about. How do we absorb that historic use to understand it? Because some of those historic use might not actually be, in some sense you could say, well, maybe it's not fair, so that'd be the hard thing. But if we could figure out, if we were to take on more of a role of scheduling fields across the cities and such, that figuring out how to absorb that history and not lose it. And I think that would be working closely with, with those people involved to make sure they can say, this is something we need to be concerned with, or these people or this group is always here. Let's figure out how to work that. I think that's just a process of working it together.
I agree. I mean, hopefully we could come in and I think that's one of the things we heard about the Parks and Rec District when people were into it was, could we provide an all-in-one calendar that makes it really clear for everybody?
And better scheduling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I still think that's a really great goal for our district. As far as baseball and soccer in Driggs in February or March or April, May of 2026, I kind of feel like we have to say to the baseball team, you should probably go talk to Driggs. It seems like soccer and pickleball jumped on here and grabbed every single space they could. And that's not necessarily our job to police that at this point in time. I think it's great to be talking about it because we can think about how that type of action would affect how we approach building a calendar system in the future.
Mm-hmm.
But at this point in time, I think baseball's got to say to Driggs, hey,
well, they may have, and they may have already done that. And I guess I look at it as the soccer group has a lot of power. I would say maybe, and might be just pushing a little harder than they need to just get up everything they can because there is such a conflict over space. But I think I don't see it as a problem, as we've recognized this as from an overall recreation in our community, that this is an issue.
Yeah.
And that to bring that to, because likely, who knows who the softball people talk to. And even if they have time, I know there were several of the softball folks last year when we tried to get their input. They just didn't have time to fill out our little Excel spreadsheet. I mean, and that's, I understand that. I mean, they're busy people working hard, probably working too many jobs. And, and so they're probably just throwing their hands up in the air and say, you know, I can go talk to the administrator at the city, and that person's gonna say, sorry, you just lost out. But I think as the rec district, this is a concern. It's something we should be worried about, and that by me going to the city planner or the mayor and saying, hey, this is a problem, we need to kind of work a little bit down, maybe we can get some relief.
Well, sure.
Of all people,
Sure.
help them, give them a little bit more voice, you know, because I think we're hopefully trying to help everybody in that aspect. So maybe we can give them a little more help that way.
What is the, I feel like you've talked about this before, like the calendaring software that's going to be used eventually. Isn't there some app or something for that we've talked about?
There are registration apps and there are scheduling apps that can be used.
But we haven't sort of cracked that open yet.
No,
And Sarah might be able to speak on, there's some add or additional plugin we can put in there.
there is, it's their registration or recreation software. There are opportunities for people to be able to sign up for field use in that way. It costs. That's the only thing I'm going to say right now is that it's an add-on. Yes, it's going to cost more. Yes, and it's going to be. They don't build it for us. We suggest what we want, and then they tell me how to build it. That's been my experience with all of this recreation software. That's been my experience with this website. Is I can give them stuff, and they'll tell me how to do it. They won't do it for me.
Yeah.
So that's where this is going to. We do have that availability, and in the future, I would suggest that would be something that we can do.
It's not going to happen this year.
I wouldn't no, I don't believe it's a smart idea to do it just yet until we start taking in also fees of programs and we start building on that right now. If we can talk to the cities and come up with a way of just having a calendar going as we progress, I feel if we jump into the recreation software side of this, we're getting the cart before the horse. And I don't want to do that because when you launch something, especially something like software and registration, it doesn't work or it's sloppy or we're going to have to retrain them how to do it again and again and again. So I think right now what the problem is that there's not a tremendous amount of communication. I think our historic sports entities that get an opportunity to sign up for their fields were disregarded in this, and that's where their feelings got hurt, is that they've been doing this for so long that they felt it was going to be something that was just going to be able to happen and that they were for sure going to get that field. And they didn't, because soccer somehow got a baseball field because they somehow turned it into a multi-use. And I understand that it has been historically a multi-use, but to me, it should be a baseball field first. And then when baseball's not using it because it's carved out as a baseball field, if baseball's not using it, then soccer can grab that outfield. That would have been my automatic take on it. But it wasn't. And so I think we need to revisit how they're allowing people to schedule field use. And maybe that's a conversation we can start having with all the cities. And if we want to look at a calendar where we're blocking out historic usage, like Sarah had mentioned, with the people that use the parks for, family reunions or whatever, just have that blacked out on the calendar. And these are the dates that are available for the rest of the public or our sports entities to use. I mean, they'll understand it just as much as the next person. So I think we can do that with all the cities. It's just a matter of communicating with all of them, getting our questions asked as to how these fields are distributed and how the indoor sports are being used too.
Yeah, mostly indoor stuff's with the school district.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the hard part.
My experience with the school districts up in Sandpoint was I got a call that said, you guys are first come, first serve to grab whichever school you need to use. Write down your dates and times, and then they let the non-for-profits come in, and then they let the for-profits come in and grab the rest of the indoor sports.
Did that happen at I don't even know when the school calendar comes out. Is it like
They do it 4 times a year or 3 times a year.
3 times a year?
Yeah, so it was done in August before. So the school got everything first. High school basketball, of course, got the gym, whatever.
Yep.
And then we came in because we partnered with the school district on our park use with their park use and our facilities with their facilities. Then they let us come in second and grab whatever school we needed for basketball, volleyball, whichever.
Mhm.
Same thing with the county too. We put in our application, the county board got together, voted on if we could use that space for that time or not. And then they kicked back saying you can have it for these days, but that Thursday you can't because we've historically had casino night, right? But yeah, then I would get a calendar invite again for the next round and then another calendar invite for the next round.
Do you, when we have the Parks and Rec calendar registration apparatus running in 2027 or beyond,
Mhm.
is that something that you think you're gonna be the administrator of, or do you think we're gonna need someone dedicated to handling that?
I think when it comes to building it, there just needs to be one administrator that after you do it once and it's already set up, it's really easy to add programs to it. So anybody could do it from whatever, however this builds. Anybody that has any computer could jump on and add something or take something away. It's really easy. It's just the building part is more time consuming than I ever thought. And the cost can get really high because they will charge you like $160 for an hour of
Yeah.
just talking to somebody from
Yeah.
and they don't do it for you. They teach you how to do it.
Yeah.
So, which is incredibly valuable, but that's a lot of money.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so yeah, at least to follow up, to finish that discussion, I'll see what I can do with the city, see what kind of relief, if all possible, and see where we go from there.
I know those guys in soccer pretty well. If I need to call them and ask them, to pull in the reins a little bit, I'm happy to do that too. Would you, John, think we could set a goal of a 27 registration calendar?
Oh, I think we should, yeah. I mean, I think the biggest issue there is kind of what Sarah hit on, is giving up control.
Sure.
Yeah, and so that's one of those. It'd be nice if we can find somebody, and maybe, I don't know if it's Victor. Victor was, we talked about the cities, in the past. It's like Victor said, we'll give you everything. Drake said, just give us money. And Teton said, well, I don't know what to do. And that's just the character of the cities. And so maybe
if the JPA's going for
right. So maybe
I think that, yeah.
But maybe if we take a city, or somebody to be the first on the list, and use them as the kind of the guinea pig, and we can show Victor, hey, we can save you a lot of time, hassle, money, whatever,
Yeah.
and take care of this, and
I
then
don't think
slowly
Victor
bring
is
everybody
similar.
else.
I think the another thing to consider too is their fee schedules on how they reserve their fields and how much it costs. And if they have it broken down, like Sandpoint and Bonner County had it broken down, was do they charge less or do they charge more for, depending on the events that are taking place? Are they getting a cut if there's a community event that's making money? Do they? So looking at that and then
Yeah.
going into the registration software, that's going to need to be bank routed to whoever is going to get that. So we need to look at defining the fees
Yeah.
and who that's going to go
But-
to. And I mean, we won't be necessary, if we're going to be the administrators, I don't feel like the fee collection is going to really be our deal, but it's going to be talking to the cities on how they do it,
Right.
what account it goes into.
I think the first
And are you
part-
comfortable handing over your account number to our registration software?
I think the first part is just getting the scheduling piece of that, and
Mhm.
then I mean, the initial step would be
You could set
getting the
after
schedule,
your
and then
schedule.
once you're scheduled, then you go through the city to pay your fees.
Right.
And so that fee section could be separate, unless they want us to start to take that fee
Right.
piece. But I think from the schedule, work on the scheduling first, because that's probably the easiest of the whole effort. And then if they say, yeah, wouldn't it be
Right.
nice if you could collect the fees at the same time? And then we go, oh yeah, here, we
Right.
got this, we can do that. I think that would work.
Okay.
Okay. Sarah, one question before I forget. Any status on the office?
Sorry, the microphone just got really fuzzy on your guys' end. I'm not,
Oh, sorry.
did it get bumped?
Any status on the office with the county?
I haven't heard anything back from Susan.
Haven't heard anything. Nothing.
Yeah, Suzanne, I need to check in with her again. She was out of town and I thought she was gonna get back to me. But yes, that's on my list of to-dos to check in. And actually right after this, I can just shoot her an email and see where she's at.
Oh, okay. Well,
So hopefully by the next meeting, we can have something on the agenda.
I've seen a couple of office spaces too that have just opened up on Main Street. If we look outside of the county.
yeah. It'd be nice to pay the county money instead of someone else. Anything else, Sarah?
Nope, that's what I had.
Matt?
No.
Probably the only discussions I've had, I was approached by people relative to the climbing gym issue. My comment was, that's really not something the rec board can do anything about at this point. But that is something that if it made sense, that there was a gym that needed to be run, that's something that potentially the rec board could take over if the rec district could if they wanted to, but that's not our role at this point or any request or anything, so.
Can you clue me in a little bit? What's the latest there?
It's
Are
just
they
that
having their lease renewed or not renewed?
the city council, my understanding, the last I read is just what I read in the paper, is they're debating whether they will renew those leases or not. And whether, that's one of the reasons they wanted to include this on here, is whether they decide to do contract work stuff out or programs out as opposed to having a separate nonprofit.
I see.
So other than that, that's all I know. I can say that I was approached by a couple of people that have been involved in the process and saying, "What can you guys do?" And it's like, well, we don't have a dog in the fight right now. So
Right. But if we did just think about it, once we have a JPA with Driggs, they would have the potential to say that's one of their facilities,
Right.
correct? And that would sort of then become our avenue into getting involved with that
we could,
particular
yeah,
facility.
yeah. And I mean, in theory, I mean, we could do work in there. We could take over programming if needed.
Mhm.
I mean, that to me would require us looking at all the costs and such, because we want it to be pretty much cover its costs. And so, but that could be done, and that'd be, another employee or something to do that.
Yeah, and then there's $100 and I'm just gonna say $50,000. I don't know if it's the right number or not. Budgeted for Driggs this year, right? Would our attitude be that anything to support the rock gym comes out of that budget, or would we say, oh no, this is different than sort of the facility maintenance piece, and we're going to open up another line of funding that's specific to that?
I don't know. That'd be something we'd have to figure out at the time.
Yeah.
I don't even know when their lease is up. It's probably the end of the year, calendar fiscal year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But again, that's just one of those sort of theoretical talks. So yeah, that's something we could do in theory.
I mean, theoretically, I think we're going to be best served to just kind of kick as much as we can to Driggs, Tetonia, Victor, the county, whatever, and just say, we're supporting what you guys are doing. Driggs, do what you want to do with the rock gym debate. We don't want to get involved in the middle of that.
Right.
Driggs decides to take it all over themselves and run it themselves.
Yeah, I don't think they do
Or
that.
they decide to,
yeah.
I think we just got to let that kind of play out to its conclusion before
Right.
we would say,
Yeah.
Absolutely. We could support them after it's resolved. I don't want to start supporting something
Right.
in the middle of resolution
Absolutely.
being
Yeah.
found.
Yeah. That's consistent with the discussion I had with these folks. It's like, we don't have a dog in the shoe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I understand the problem. But
Where do you guys, yeah, that's all I had for today.
Okay.
I feel like I have some more work to do diving into your work plan, John, and some of the
Mm.
things to do there.
Mhm.
I'll commit to maybe coming with some discussion points and some action ideas around that for our next meeting.
Cool.
And bring that back up onto the agenda as the work.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
it's gonna be good.
Yeah, Sarah, one of the things I talked with Katie here before the meeting was, remember we'd had a nice discussion from Sarah White from the Mental Health Coalition uh, with some ideas as to maybe getting with her, they had some good ideas with relative to signage and things about, physics, I can't even remember them all, but they were like, if you're starting to have some issues, get out and go for a walk, all these sort of mental health, physical health kind of correlation. She did a great job. And so we had actually set some money aside for helping with some of that stuff.
Okay.
And so it was to try to get Katie with her to try to, maybe to better define what those are. So maybe we can move forward with some of that.
No, it's Family Safety Network of 501c3.
This was the Mental Health Coalition.
Or, sorry,
Yeah, yes, it is. Yeah.
So where do we stand in that front? In my mind, I was thinking, hey, we're going to get these JPAs in place for dispensing funds. That's super important. It's a big chunk of the budget. There's some other chunk of the budget that is reserved for something like that.
Mhm.
How are you guys engaging groups at the moment in terms of this is available? We just need to kind of get started and work it out, or, we're going to be entertaining, those opportunities from folks in Q3 of this year. Just what's sort of the landscape in your mind?
Yeah, so it has been, our focus has really been the last month and a half, and then JPA's getting those in place. We haven't really thought much. We brought the question up to Jeff, was what can we do? And I had that one list of things I forwarded.
Okay.
The questions became, it's like Katie had suggested sponsorship.
Okay.
And so
Like for any of our non-for-profits, if they have events, are we able to provide them moments of sponsorship where, we could be a $5,000 donor and they could advertise for us as the county, and we come in with the supply table and have our information and everything that we provide, and they get that little bit of money from
yeah,
us.
so what it would require then basically, we can do it at a facility. So one of our
So that's
facilities.
why we're trying to get the JPAs in place, because a lot of these take place. So like examples, we got the 4-H.
Okay.
4-H has had their
they submitted
budget cut. They've been asking for financial support for a while, but their budget got cut. And so things like when the kids want to show their animals, or they don't have money for buckles, they don't have money for all of that, got cut. But how can we support them without actually buying the buckles for them? Without buying the awards, without providing those kinds of not necessarily long-term but tangible items? Can we do that through, here's $5,000. If we can be a sponsor for your event, then they can take that money and utilize it for buckles and for awards
Is
and
Jeff
for.
reviewing that at the moment to see if that's
I think we need to be careful on exactly how what stuff goes for and figure out how to do that.
It's just those little details. I was just going off of an idea that I had as far as how our sponsorships could go, but it was trying to find.
We might need to be, and I'd probably be more, it's like, have better feeling for, here's some money for these things, not just here's $5,000 to.
Well, I was just using that as an example.
Yeah.
A lot of non-for-profits that have reached out to cities, they have a sponsorship menu, and cities will also reach out to other organizations. So like when I worked for the city of Casa Grande, we would have special events, and we would have a sponsorship menu where we would contact local businesses and say, hey, you want to be a part of our event? We'll give you a table, a pop-up tent, 2 chairs for $50. And they would get to advertise whatever and pay us $50. Mm-hmm. And eventually that would add up, but we would have like a gold standard sponsorship where they're marketed on all of our recreation. They're on our calendar. They're mentioned 15 times during the event. We've created posters for them. They get to come and talk at all of our spaces. If you give us $5,000, $10,000, $15,000. We always ended up finding somebody who was going to pay that kind of money to get free advertising.
Exposure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so as far as, I mean, the nonprofits coming to us with specific requests. We really haven't, figured that process out. We need to think about that because we.
I thought what you and I talked about at one point in time, John, was that the best way to handle that was really it needed to be, we couldn't give scholarships, right? It had to be tied to facilities. And then also the best way to maybe do it was through a contract type basis, right? So we would enter in with, the Little League group, some type of contract that says for these dollars, you agree to do these things at this facility. And if you don't, these are the implications of it, kind of a thing.
As opposed to just grants, yeah.
As opposed to just grants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Grants are best effort kind of. Yeah, we can do that.
Right. Right. And then my thinking when hearing that was, okay, well, we'd write a contract that says, Little League, we're going to give you this money for this action at this facility. And if it's not completed, you guys will be ineligible to request funding from the Parks and Rec District for a period of whatever.
Well, but I mean, part of it, and that's the hard thing is, well, if it's a grant, that's kind of a grant approach. You've done this and you performed this to the best of your ability. And if you fail to do these things, you're off the grant list for a period of time. And it's a hard line. I mean, it's kind of, what becomes when you're, especially when you're dealing with something like these organizations, how do you define a good hard contract? I mean, it's easy when I say, I want this 2,000 square foot building that looks like this, you go make it beautiful for me.
Yeah.
And you can do that.
Well, beauty's subjective too.
Well, that's true. I've seen some of the stuff you do. It's pretty nice. But yeah.
Well, and again, I'm just bringing up to kind of think about like, how do we set that up? Because that's, I think, is a big part of the idea of what we're trying to do here. It's really just about finding the mechanism for it.
Right.
So, I'm happy to start taking a crack at what that could look like, just in a basic way. But I'm guessing we're going to have to get Jeff to look at these and confirm and set some rules around, what parameters we're going to put in it, because it has to be used at the facilities.
Yeah.
That's the big umbrella. It's all got to fit under.
Yeah.
After you get under that umbrella, you can kind of probably do
Yeah.
different things, but we know it's going to fit under that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can't remember the example I used, I think was, okay, we want to sponsor a ski there. And what can we do? Said like, if it's at a facility, we can do sponsorship and stuff. And what does that sponsorship mean? And so if somebody comes to us asking for sponsorship, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Maybe that's the real question. Need to go back and look at that. The question, his response, because it's been pretty consistent. So if you want to take a kind of a shot at that, maybe draft up some kind of bullet points of like, here's kind of some thoughts and some ideas.
Okay. Would the methodology be to draft that up and open questions potentially for Jeff, go through you, so you're continue to be the same point of contact for Jeff? Is that how we're handling it?
Yeah, I think that's probably good. Just don't get too many steps and rounds. Yeah. I'll see if I got any other things that he's sent us. Any other thoughts, Sarah?
No. I mean, I was thinking maybe, I'm not sure if Matt has access to that. They have a lot of documents and things that you can take. I'm not sure if they have any kind of grant application or contract
Is
type
that
thing.
an online resource?
ICRMP, that's who our insurance is through. like that's where we got a lot of our documents, like for the manuals and like the employee stuff. So I'm not sure if they dive into the funding side of things, but there could be something there. I'll have to look back and see how I got access to it. I think we just need to get you a login.
Login key, yeah, yeah.
Got it.
And Katie, why don't you want to contact the guy we talked to in Wood River or Blaine County Recreation Department? Remember who we talked to there?
The director, the
Yeah,
executive director, that guy?
yeah, and see if they provide any funding for nonprofits and how.
Mark Davidson.
That sounds correct, yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna call him and just find out if they do any work with nonprofits,
Okay.
providing funding and their mechanism. That would be a good,
Great.
yeah. Plagiarize as much as possible.
That's right.
Yeah.
Would Mary Coote, she's our senior membership engagement specialist for the district. Is that a good person to get in contact with regarding Matt getting access to iCrimp?
Yes, she's the one that gave me the access. I just found that.
Okay, Matt, I'm gonna CC you on an email with her.
Okay. Well. Any other things before we adjourn?
We're gonna have at least 2 JPAs adopted in early March. Hopefully we'll continue to work with the county.
Sarah's working with the county.
Sarah's working with the county and Tetonia. My question is broadly around marketing. Is there anything we feel like we need to be doing? Hey, JPAs are now in place. This is what it means for the Parks and Rec District.
That was my thought. I wanted to wait because I don't want to go over what you guys want to do, and I don't want to jump too far ahead only to have to pull it back. So I was waiting for the JPAs to be approved.
Yep.
So if there's less questions.
It's more a broader question about marketing. Like we've got Harmony going now. There's going to be these public input opportunities. And just wondering how we're monthly or even over email talking about what we want our some of our I don't know if there's a marketing strategy yet that's been developed for the Parks and Rec District. But I do think we can do the best job in the world. But if people don't know about it, right, then Facebook could take over, right?
Right.
So, like, how do we want to be proactive in some of our marketing?
So we've got in the communication plan, was that something it was in our work plan or draft?
I spoke with Erica and she's there to help. I don't have anything to give to the community right now because we're still in the
Right.
middle
Well,
of voting on all of this.
Okay, no, I understand.
And so,
I understand we don't have anything, but having a communication kind of a strategy. So maybe that's something if you want to kind of work it up, a strategy of how we're, what we're presenting, how we present it, how it goes through,
I mean, at this point, I think it could be look at the timeline from Harmony, look at what we think our timeline is going to be on the JPAs, and put some dates on your calendar of announcement relative to each, right? Like that's really all I'm talking about. But then longer range.
Yeah, I'm thinking more of a longer range. This is our strategy. This is our approach for getting information out. So, for example, when we award a contract, if there's one of multiple we'll award this year, how do we present that to the public, and how do we then provide ongoing information on our progress on things and what we're doing? And so that kind of thinking about that through a year, what do we do each year, and how do we present information? How do we make sure we're out there in the public, and kind of a strategy like that? Does that make sense? Kind of maybe draft something up and I'm sure there might be something too that we could plagiarize from others that have got something in place.
Right.
Okay.
I would need your guys' vision on this. I can't go off of my vision. I need,
Account?
we do, I don't have the login information for it. I tried to log into it. I tried to jump over from Facebook and it says that it's gonna go to somebody else's phone number. And it has to verify through somebody else's phone number and I don't know who's verifying it. So
Do you know, it doesn't say the number?
I have not been able to get into Instagram. So
When it asks you to verify, it doesn't give you a number.
it gives me the last four and I don't know that off the top of my head.
Okay.
So
If you can find those last four, maybe we can figure out who it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who,
I mean,
it's probably, is it? Sarah, who would have been posting on Instagram for us? Would have been, Erica?
Yeah, Erica had to help me get access to Instagram because I'm not really on there. So I guess that would be my suggestion is ask Erica. She's the one that set it up. And I don't think she switched it over to me as a default, but
because what it's going to do is when you try to log on, it asks to verify. It's going to send a code off to somebody else's phone number, and then you got to wait for them to respond back to you to get that code to be able to log on. So I have not been able to update
Yeah, well,
our
we need to
Get from
Instagram.
your phone number.
Yeah.
have you done that then? Because if it was my phone number, I would have got the notification.
No,
Right.
I didn't know whose phone number it was
Oh.
going to contact for them
It's
to be
me or
able,
Erica. I don't know.
for me to be able to say,
set it up.
hey, here's a heads up, you're going to be getting this in the middle of the afternoon.
Yeah. Well, why don't you just for
So,
shits and grins, why don't you try it?
Okay.
I would say try it.
If Sarah gets a note, well, that'll answer one question. If not, then let's go to Erica and say,
okay,
hey, what do we need to do to get this transferred over to your phone? So,
right.
so that's good.
Yeah.
There.
I agree. We need to come up with a marketing vision, plan, strategy for you to kind of implement. So let's just give it some thought. I think keeping up with Instagram is exhausting. I could care less about it. So I'm not advocating for that at all. I think if there's
I personally noticed that when I took over the Facebook page for the Sandpoint Parks and Recreation Department, I got a lot more foot traffic there as I was posting because I would post 3 times a week.
yeah.
And it was contra dance. It was, we have softball leagues. Don't forget softball. Don't forget we have meetings. This is I was as transparent as possible, but I also had the regulations and what the expectation was in front of me from my higher ups telling me what I can and cannot post and what I should and should not post. And there were policies that were already in place that were given to me so that I wasn't posting things that I wasn't supposed to. Because I don't feel comfortable right now doing that, because I don't know what you guys want from me. I need that from you and what I can and cannot and what you feel I need to be relevantly posting or giving out to the public.
Well, I think
Because it's going to come out eventually. People can do a public records request and we have to give them what we have. Right. So I'll post everything, but if it's not anything that you guys are comfortable having out at the public that exact moment, how am I going to know that?
Yeah.
So that's what I need from my higher ups. I don't like guessing. I don't like guessing. And I don't like trying to figure out what you guys want. And then I do it. And then I get told, don't do that. That's not a productive way with which I work.
So that's more, then you cross the line and then we know you cross the line.
Well, but that's not fair to do though.
Yeah,
In
No,
my
that's
professional experience, I've had that happen before,
Yeah.
and I don't like being the lightning rod
Yeah.
for something that I shouldn't have had to be the lightning rod for.
No, that's more than reasonable. So, yeah,
So right now I'm cautiously posting what I know to post, and that's things like, hey, we got our new logo, or hey, here's our meetings, or this is our new website. Here's where you find stuff. And
So
as that builds,
my understanding of social media is old people watch Facebook, millenniums follow Instagram, and whatever that generation below follows TikTok. And that's unfortunately
You're pretty sharp, John. That's my understanding.
And that's unfortunately, I mean, and then there's some of us that still read the paper. Not enough, and that's why the paper's hurting, but
is figuring out how to get all the, unfortunately,
Well, and I
those are
think-
the communication
yeah,
devices.
Trying to be everything to everyone is, in my opinion, is never a good idea, I think, we aren't a very good fit for Instagram. Now, to have an Instagram page that sends people to our webpage is probably a great idea to have. And every 3 months, a photograph of the recreation activity of the season being updated probably makes it just look like a nice page. But I would use it personally. I would say to use that as a director to either the Facebook page or the website, and that we should limit our things that we have to update to.
With the advantage of, you can post on Instagram and it simultaneously posts on Facebook. So it's only really one post that you have to do.
Sure.
And it just copies it over there. So it hits a different.
But we could also do a written post that just says softball canceled tonight or whatever, or softball fundraiser happening. See,
But that, you can do that on Instagram as a
okay.
picture thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
My real point is I wanted to say, let's not have 4 or 5 accounts that we're trying to constantly update. Let's find a way to narrow our focus. And if there's some outreach that brings people back to our webpage as the prime source of information, I think that feels easier to manage. There are millennials working as Instagram account managers. I don't really want to put that in our budget next year.
Sandpoint didn't have an Instagram because there's too much liability with photos of kids. And if
Yeah.
every city had it. Example, if there's a custody battle and a dad has no idea where their kid was, or the mom has no idea that the kid is now out of state and he's on Instagram and now he sees his kid playing softball in Victor, we've now exposed that kid to somebody who wasn't supposed to have access. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I
So-
don't know why that would matter, but.
If there's a law, if there's a custody battle going on and a dad is not allowed to be anywhere near their child, and we post on our site the face of that child and the dad somehow finds them, we've now exposed that kid to somebody who they're not supposed to be around. That's just an example of some of the
Well,
social media
But
policies
anytime you.
that cities
but-
have.
But to put a child, you have to have approval to put a child.
Exactly, which is why we
Yeah.
didn't have an Instagram with photos, because we did not have the signature of parents agreeing or disagreeing or people that wanted their faces on it.
Yeah, but you just solve that problem by not using faces. I mean, if you look at a lot of the nonprofits here will have pictures and they either slightly.
All I'm saying is
Yeah.
there's reasons why there were policies in place for some of these cities, and I'm guessing that a lawsuit happened, and that's why all of a sudden it
And
became a policy.
Instagram and Facebook, I mean, as long as you don't use any pictures, yeah. I mean, you can use no pictures on Instagram or not.
Right.
But, if you've,
That was just one of the
I'm-
reasons
I'm
why
saying if somebody's-
why
yeah.
cities stayed away from Instagram, was because of the photo aspect of it, unless we have it written consent from the participants that.
right, well, that's regardless of, yeah, that's always the case. I mean, any organization, unless you have written consent, and a lot of them, like the sports league, some of those specifically say, can your kid's picture be used?
Right.
As you sign it off. But that's all things we can work.
Mhm.
We can
The
work.
point
through
though
that
is
process.
we need to write some rules around what we want to do.
Yeah.
I think that's the good
Right.
first step. A plan with some guidelines.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
We adopted a social media policy last year.
That's true, yes.
It's in the drive. So,
It's also on the website.
yeah. So, I mean, that should guide our posts.
I'll check that out. Social media. Ooh.
It just gets, I mean, there's a reason why, there's a reason why when you start a new government agency, the policy book is about this big, and by the time it's 40 years later.
Yeah.
And it's broken down into sections, there's a reason, and there happens to be moments of being a guinea pig and public outcry on things that weren't supposed to be or were done, and
Yeah.
There's reasons why rules are made.
Yeah, unfortunately, social media is how things are communicated nowadays. Okay,
It's not used for just saying hi to your friends anymore.
So half this valley runs, I feel like.
okay, I make a motion to adjourn our meeting. And
I will second that.
any, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, Sarah.
Okay, thank you guys.
Bye.
Talk to you later.
Oh, and John, I just sent you Kurt Cox's contact info.
Okay.
If you want to touch base with him as well.
Sounds good.
Okay, have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.
See you, Sarah.